I just got finished coming back from Kentucky. And I had just also got finished making a video. And of course, I get in here and I check and I find out that there's been mass killings at a Connecticut school. A school in Connecticut. And of course, everybody is saying that, you know, this is a nice town. This is not the type of stuff that happens in towns and stuff like this. And let me start off by saying, number one, I offer condolences and prayers to those who have been injured, hurt, harmed, or suffered loss during this tragic situation. At the same time, you know the news media is going to get out there, and you know all the rest of these so-called politicians are going to be out there lobbying for stricter gun laws. I want to put my thoughts into this situation. And I want to let you in on a little bit about how that Pastor Dow raised his children. You know just as well as I do that we live in bad times, very volatile times. And people today, when they have nothing to lose, they're losing it. And then, hey, there's no shortage in news about a supervisor misusing or abusing or having some type of personal hatred towards an employee. The employee gets fired or whatever may have you. They have nothing to lose, so they lose it. So they go home, they go somewhere, they obtain a gun, come back and shoot the supervisor, shoot everybody in the stores. All right? Same thing with public school. You think about this. Here in America, there's the strictest laws on the book. I mean, even if a school teacher carries a gun in her car to not enter the building but on the property, she's subject to federal criminal prosecution. I mean, it is just off the chain sad. Now, listen to me very closely, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. If you're going to send your children to public school, first of all, I advise against that greatly. I think that one of the worst things you can do as a parent is send your children to public food. The worst, whether it be public or private, where there's a group of people. You don't know if the teacher is a witch, is she some type of satanic being, or the principal, or, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on when you have this many mass people together. And then you don't know what those other children parents are teaching them at home that's going to be coming to school and teaching your children some of the things that they are learning at home. It's off the chain. I'm totally against it. Myself and my wife, we homeschooled our children, and I thank y'all that they're grown. I thank y'all that we're out of the clear, that no disgruntled so-called relatives who have a so-called our best interest in mind, because we chose to homeschool our children, because we're very, very adamant about following the Bible, which America says you are a terrorist if you follow this book. We believe in morals and values, and I think that is the best decisions, one of the best decisions that we have made as parents. So you can call it old-fashioned, call it whatever you want, but I think it's chaotically insane for a parent to send their children to public schools. And i.e., here's an example. Here's an example. You see, because when I speak to you, my perspective and viewpoint comes from this angle. The Bible says you train up a child in the way it should go. And if you send your children to public school, you're not training up your child. Somebody else is doing it. And of course, you got a lot of lazy mamas that like sitting at home watching soap operas and don't like taking responsibility for the education of their children. Same with the lazy dads too. But hey, at least in the environment. And that's not to say that somebody, even on a community, will not get some spirit up on them and just go off the chain and off the wall. But I would tell you this, in the type of environment that I live in, the threat will be neutralized real quick, fast, and in a hurry. Oh, people may get injured. You can't stop that. And you know what's amazing to me? Again, it's only after the crime is over with, all the police show up, all the dogs show up, they all pulling up as a show of force. The crime has already been done. The injustice has already been perpetuated. We don't need you now. what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Take a pen, write a report, and then in doing an investigation? But what about all the dead people that are there? See, now I go back to the intent of this video. I believe if you're going to send your children in a hostile environment like that, i.e. a public school or public school, what you call it, I believe that the school teachers, every single one of them, need to go through competent, professional firearms training. And I believe with all my heart that if you're going to put yourself in that type of public situation, that they need to know how to competently handle a firearm. I think we ought to arm the teachers, because you see, criminals like this, they know they're going into an environment where there's no guns. And so they can just literally shoot up in and out of everybody. You ever notice, have you ever noticed, anytime there's a place where guns are allowed, where there's an extraordinary amount of people with firearms, have you ever noticed that criminals don't go into those areas and they don't open up fire and they don't kill people and cut a food? Have you ever noticed? I'll give you an example. The protest in New York, when people are protesting, it's a total different response than the people protesting in Arizona. You see, the people in New York, they can't have, it's illegal for them to have firearms. So therefore, when they exercise their rights to protest their government for redress and agreements, what happens in New York? They get maced, they get beat, the cops beat the fire out of them. And of course, you ain't gonna get no justice out of an unjust system. You can't get justice on stolen ground. We've already started this country under the wrong auspices from the very beginning, so you cannot expect justice on stolen ground, stolen land. That's the first and foremost thing that need to be in everybody's mind. And you don't need to forget history. You need to continually keep repeating it back and forth in your minds. Now listen to me. But when you go to Arizona and people are protesting, the protesters have got weapons, they got rifles, they got handguns, as well as the police, and it is so peaceful. Not one police is crossing that line to try to beat up on a person that is exercising their constitutional right to protest their government for redress and agreement. You know what? There's a respect, a mutual respect that takes place there. Now you go to these other areas where guns are not allowed, people are getting a fire whooped out of them. Do y'all see what I'm saying? See the difference? Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? I know that some of you can't see the difference. They don't want to see the difference. I tell you what I think we should do in America. I think we should put all the people who don't believe that you should have guns in any situation or circumstance, put you all on one side of the country. And all the people that do believe that you should have guns, put us all on the other side of the country. And let's see, just by that simple example right there, who will suffer the most deaths and injustices perpetuated upon them simply because one group decides to be armed, the other group decides not to be armed. Again, my personal feelings on this. Number one, if you love your child, you wouldn't even send them to public school. No, you wouldn't. Well, Pastor Dollar, I can't have it. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion in this country. At least for right now, I am. I mean, that we seeing that our exercise and our right to freedom of speech is quickly being censored. We're quickly being told what's hate crime, what we can say, what we cannot say. And you looking at, hey, if you're looking at all these news sources, they're going to run this thing for a week or two in advance simply because it's so-called news. They don't care about the injustice that's been perpetuated. The cops can't do nothing after the situation is already done. You can't get, hey, but if a school teacher, janitor, somebody was armed and they heard that pop, 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 do you know that threat could have been neutralized if they had the proper training? Do you know that if they're going to be there in that environment? Huh? I know. But I know there's a philosophy. Just take away all the guns. But then what are you going to do? Leave it to law enforcement? They have the guns. Have you people seen the YouTube videos of how that these people actually break more laws than they do of keeping law? There are very, 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 very few professional police officers in this country. Matter of fact, we had a gathering of the saints this year. I met one. He actually came here to the meeting. And he was very tactful, very professional. You know one reason why he's very professional? Because he knows the Constitution. and he's a believer in the Messiah. Now, personal opinion, he has a right to pick and choose that, but you know those are only a few good men that are actually like that. And you know, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch, but when you got a whole bunch of bad apples, I mean, it's just off the chain ridiculous. Philosophy perspective is, this country, when it was first, it wasn't founded. It was taken by unjust means. But when these people came over here, everybody had a gun on them. There was no laws against it or anything. And you can go back into history and look and see that all of these so-called killings didn't take place. Now, we do know that if you don't do this thing and play this game the way that the powers be tell you, and you are a politician, your life expectancy may be cut very, very short. We see that throughout history. We see presidents getting killed whenever you don't obey your masters. So, hey, I am truly, 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 truly sympathetic, and my heart hurts. I'm sitting up there, I look at this, I come in, I go, oh my. But all it does is it confirms my belief even more so. Home school. That's right. Home school. Don't tell me can't, because hey, I got my son. He didn't want no parts of college whatsoever at all. And school was a literal joke and a breeze to him. Have you ever met those people that they can sit here and listen to the curriculum, read a few pages, and then they ace the test? I don't have that kind of mind, but my son does. And my little girl, she decides she'd go to school. All right, she got to school. She went to a Division I college on an academic scholarship. She got accepted into a major school at age 16. And we homeschool. Homeschool. And she double majored. Home school. So don't tell me. Now, I understand why a lot of people have a bunch of negative connotations and negative ideas against homeschool, because you got a bunch of parents that are sorry. They don't care about their children. They don't mind laying down and having them, but they don't care nothing about their children whatsoever at all. Just watch them. They don't care nothing. Oh, they got this little sorry feelings and emotions, but they don't care about their children. And I'm not convinced at all. You're a mother, you're a stay-at-home mom, you should be training up your child. But you can't train up the child if you ain't trained up your own self. I mean, I understand that. But this deliberate dumbing down of America, and you watch to see what happens. You watch and see what's happening. Patriot Act, they're going to bring up all kind of national security issues. They're going and wait a minute. Let me look at this. Because, you know, in this country, we like highlighting stuff when it's so-called a race thing. If it's in a black area or a white area with the biased news media. And to me, this looks like a typical suburban middle-class neighborhood. That's what it looks like in a school system. So what that's telling you that idiots can be in anywhere. They come in all colors, all shapes, and all sizes. I'm going to stick with my philosophy. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick with my philosophy. And my children grew up around firearms. My children know how to shoot firearms very, very well and very proficient. I had a gun in my children's hand at age 10. 9 and 8, 10, 9, 8, teaching them the respect for it, how to properly use it, what the function of it is, and they already knew. They grew up with guns laying all over the house. Never had an issue, never once had an issue with my children. I think it's, the problem is our conditioning in this country. I think that's the problem. But hey, again, my condolences go out to the people that were hurt, injured, harmed, and even lost their life at the hands of a nutcase. But at the same time, I say this: I believe that threat could have been neutralized, if not eliminated totally. Neutralized, if not eliminated totally, if you had teachers, principals, a janitor, even a janitor himself, that were very proficient, and receive professional instruction in how to handle a firearm. This could have been prevented. But you can't prevent this as long as people are playing politics and they politic and everything. The worst thing you can do is send your child into an environment to where there are no firearms allowed. Home school. That's my personal opinion. You may agree or disagree, but hey, you heard my opinion. Let's get a video response right here, and let's see what you have to say. Let's get this video thing response, or either just chime in and see what you have to say. Do you agree or do you disagree with me? And if you disagree with me, let it be known to everybody out here on YouTube why you disagree with me, because I want to hear. I want to know, because I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I will listen. I will listen very closely. I will listen with an open mind. And I would actually evaluate and check my perspective, my philosophy, my belief system. But I really, truly don't believe I'm wrong in this area. I truly don't believe it. I just got finished telling you the truth. And it's the truth. Straight way. You dial 911, it ain't going to stop the killing. You going to die. You better start learning how to take. Learn how to take self-preservation, self-defense into your own hands, and stop depending on somebody who's 20, 30, 5, 10, 15 miles away, 10, 15, 20 minutes away. By that time, the crime is already done. The injustice has already been perpetuated, and we have nothing but total carnage. My heart goes out to these people. I hope that in America we do change our philosophy and our perspective in the way that we do things and the way we view things. And that's the truth. And that's the truth. Straight way.